Hey guys, what is going on and welcome back to Knowledge Channel. I'm Mohamed and today I'm going to be reviewing the Bluedio T2 Plus Turbine Hurricane. Now, I have never heard about Bluedio before, never knew about this company. It's apparently a Chinese company that specializes in making, audio peripherals. And I was mostly browsing the internet looking for a $30 headphone, $30 wireless headphone. And what really caught my attention about these headphones was the looks. I like the way they look, and I was like, okay, well, this looks interesting. And I researched these things online, and I was overwhelmed with the amount of positive reviews on Amazon. It was absolutely staggering, the amount of overwhelming reviews on the internet considering these headphones. So I was like, you know what, okay, fine. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try these headphones. I'm gonna buy these headphones, and I'm gonna give them a spin. And yeah, I took a gamble, and you know what? For most of the part, it paid off. For $30, this is an incredible value. And I'm gonna talk a little bit more about this. So first off, let's talk a little bit about the design. At a first glance, these things didn't look like the most polished and most well-made headphones. Considering the ear cups are painted in this red candy color, which really just makes it look cheap. I would have preferred something, I don't know, maybe glossy red or maybe dark candy red. I don't know, but I would have preferred, it just looks cheap. The ear cups looks cheap. The chrome rings on the ear cups also look cheap, but otherwise, everywhere else in the headphone, it does feel good. I mean, for example, the metal joints on the headbands feel really good. They add an extra durability for the headphones. Also, the headband, the cushion on the headband also feels nice. The ear cushions also feel nice. I'd say, yeah, for most of the part, it's well made, considering that it costs $30. So yeah, at a first glance, I wasn't really impressed with the construction quality of these headphones, but they kind of grew on me over time. And yeah, let's talk a little bit about the ports on this headphone. It's got a scan button to scan for FM radio. Yes, these things got FM radio functionality. Now, this is the T2 Plus Turbine model. There's also a standard T2 model, which doesn't include FM radio or SD card. So do pay attention to which model you want to pick. If you want to pick up the one that includes FM radio and SD card model, you have to pick up the T2 Plus model. And the difference in price isn't really that much, so I think you should just pick up the SD card model because it just includes more features, which I definitely appreciate. So it's got the scan button to scan for the FM radio channels. It's got the mode button, which switches between SD card and FM radio. The SD card slot. It's got the power button, and it's got the this really intuitive wheel to control a lot of functionalities, including skipping tracks, controlling volume, and playing and pausing. Now, with this particular model, it doesn't really actually pause or play if you pressed it. It's this button that pauses and plays, the power button. Otherwise, you could just hold the button and pretty much switch to either SD card or FM mode, and you could also hold on it when you're scrolling up to increase volume and so on. And it's got a microphone. The microphone actually does a pretty good job when it comes to calls. I think, yeah, mostly it's clear. I could hear my friends just fine on the headphone, and they could hear me just fine too. I mean, it gets the job done. Although it doesn't have any noise cancellation microphone on any parts of the headphones, it just doesn't, which means it's not really able to deal well with any external noises. So if you're in a noisy environment, people are going to suffer. People are not going to be able to hear you, which is going to be problematic. It's got a 3.5 millimeter jack, which means you could use it either wired or wireless, which is absolutely great. Also, a fun fact about the 3.5 millimeter jack on this headphone. You could also power other headphones using this jack. For example, if you're listening to a certain soundtrack, or if you're listening to an SD card or FM radio, and one of your friends wanted to hear what you're hearing, they could just plug in their headphones and they could listen to what you're listening to. And I didn't really expect this feature would be great. I didn't think these headphones would actually be able to power other headphones. They're Bluetooth and they're wireless. But I was actually surprised with the sound quality that came out of these things. They're actually able to power headphones just fine. They sound great, they sound loud, and they sound exactly the same as these. So what do you get for $30? First off, you get foldable design. You get a foldable design. It could be folded that way. You get metal bands. You get SD card functionality and FM radio functionality. You get 40 hours of battery life. Yes, that's right. 40 hours of talk time. 45 hours of music playback using the Bluetooth mode. You get about 15 hours of SD card playback, and you get about 15 hours of FM radio, which I think is great. I think the battery life, for most of the part, beats any other Bluetooth headphone. I rarely have ever seen any headphones that could go up more than 12 hours of battery life. This, on the FM radio and the SD card, are actually able to beat like full-on battery lives of other headphones. So I think, yeah, 45 hours is pretty much unbeatable. It's amazing. It's just an amazing battery life. And yeah, you get options to connect it to any wired device. I think, yeah, for $30, you get a lot of functionality in this headphone. I think it's an incredible value. So let's talk a little bit about the specs. This has got 57 millimeter driver, which is larger than most drivers on most headphones, because most headphones would use about 40 millimeter driver to 50 millimeter driver. I've heard about some wacky headphones that would use about 75 millimeter drivers or 100 millimeter drivers even. But yeah, I think 57 millimeter drivers is a bit of an overkill. And you know, that's for a reason. These things actually sound really good. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. These are also semi-open back, which means, sure, yeah, they provide a little bit of an extra sound stage for the sound experience, but also that means that they sacrifice noise isolation. These headphones don't have the best noise isolation in the world. I'd say they pretty much block around 70% of external noises, which I think is really decent. But when it comes to noise leakage, yes, these things actually leak sound too. It's a bit problematic because I tested these headphones with a lot of other people, you know, using different soundtracks and using different levels of volume, and they do leak out noise. I could pretty much hear clearly what anyone is listening to using these headphones right next to me. If they're sitting right next to me, I could pretty much hear them clearly. Sometimes, even if I'm not having these headphones on the top of my head, if I turn up the volume, these things would actually sound like a miniature speaker, a miniature Bluetooth speaker. They are that loud. They're very loud. So if you're one of those people who are conscious about, you know, this whole leakage thing, it might be a bit of a deal breaker. That I'd say, you know, just steer away from these headphones and just don't buy them, because yeah, they do leak noise. And if you're just leaving them like this and you played any soundtrack, they would actually sound like a miniature Bluetooth speaker, which is absolutely amazing. So let's talk about the most important aspect of these headphones, the sound experience, the sound quality of these headphones. For $30, you would say, you know what, I'm not expecting much from a $30 headphones, considering that I already got a lot of features, including SD card functionality, FM radio, an amazing battery life, and a foldable design. I'd say, you know what, that's enough for me. I wouldn't expect much, you know, from the audio quality. But you know what? The audio quality, surprisingly, is really, really good. It actually is able to keep up with some headphones that would cost about 10 times the price. Yes, they could keep up with the Beats headphones. They could keep up with some Skull Candy headphones, which is absolutely astounding. Considering that they cost $30, I was blown away with the sound quality. Now, they're not the most balanced headphones in the world. They lean a bit towards the bass side of things, so bass heads are going to love these headphones. They have amazing bass. They definitely have a lot of kick and a lot of punch in the bass, and it doesn't sound muddy. It's really good. It's just loud and it sounds good. The bass is genuinely good, but it doesn't do so without the sacrifice of other frequencies. For example, the highs, although they're decent, they're not the best highs I've ever heard, and they're not the worst highs I've ever heard. They just get the job done. Same thing about the mids. They're not the best mids I've ever heard, and they're not the worst mids I've ever heard. But it doesn't do that at a complete, like it doesn't really pretty much sacrifices all other frequencies. It doesn't completely, covers or just ruins all the other frequencies. Like all I can hear when I'm listening to music is pretty much bass, It's not like that. I could actually pretty much clearly hear all the other instruments, all the other vocals. No problem. It's clear. It's just fine. and also the bass is amazing, but you know, it doesn't sacrifice the other frequencies. So I'd say, yeah, it's definitely got a lot of bass emphasis, and it also sounds very loud. It's among the loudest headphones I've ever had. If you want to go deaf, just turn up the volume on these things. Turn up the volume to the maximum on these things, and believe me, these things can go crazy loud. They can go so loud to the point that they can actually rattle. Yes, they don't have vibrating motors. They don't. You can't actually, you know, take off the cups and put batteries for the vibrating motors on the inside. You know, like some of the headphones, like the XB950 or the Skull Candy Crushers. These don't actually have vibrating motors, but they can go so loud, and they have gobs of bass that they can actually shake, rattle. On your head while listening to them. So it's absolutely amazing. These things are actually very loud, and they actually have this, you know, a rattle functionality apparently for some reason. So I think overall, I think it did a pretty good job on the sound side of things. Now, for the connectivity, which is pretty much the most important aspect, what are the differences between the Bluetooth connectivity and the wired connectivity? Now, first off, I didn't really notice much of a difference between the wired mode and the wireless mode. However, I've noticed that the volume is actually louder on the Bluetooth mode. It actually sounds louder, mostly because Bluetooth isn't really held back by the DAC unit, because a DAC unit on a phone, and for example, if it's got an internal amplifier, it could pretty much do a pretty decent job powering any headphone. Even some of the studio headphones, like the Shure headphones or the Sennheisers or Better Dynamics, it could do a pretty good job. But it's also held back by how much impedance these headphones need. But for the Bluetooth headphones, they don't really need a lot of impedance. They don't need amps to power them up. So you're going to get a pretty decent audio quality, sometimes even better than when you have it wired to your headphone, to your mobile phone. So I'd say it actually sounds better for me anyway on the Bluetooth mode than it does on the wired mode. As for the connectivity, as for the strength of the signal and everything, the connectivity function is pretty easy. It's really simple. You gotta power up the device using the power button, hold it for 4 seconds, and it's gonna power on. Keep holding more for 7 seconds, and it's gonna start pairing. Once you get it paired, once you choose the headphone from the Bluetooth menu on your phone, you can pretty much turn on the headphone again, and it's going to be connected automatically. It's also able to connect to 2 devices at the same time. Not only able to remember, it's able to remember 3 devices, it's also able to connect to 2 devices at the same time. So I can watch a TV show on my tablet and also at the same time have it connected to my phone. And if I received a call on my phone, it's going to pause the video on my tablet and allow me to answer the phone call from my phone. And this is great. I mean, the first time this happened, I was connected to both devices, my tablet and my phone. The first time it happened, it just paused the video on the tablet and allowed me to answer the phone call from my phone. I had a big grin on my face. I had a huge grin on my face because this is awesome. This is really great. It's just really smooth, the whole transition between 2 devices. I think it's fantastic. Also, I could also just put my phone in any room and pretty much walk around, and it wouldn't disconnect. I could go to the bathroom, I could go to the kitchen, I could go to a lot of places. Of course, not to the extreme ends of the house because that would mean it would get disconnected. But I think I could go in pretty much the closest rooms to where I've left my phone, and it wouldn't disconnect. It would just keep going just fine, not even a single disconnection. However, there's a bit of an oddity when it comes to disconnection. For example, if I have my phone in my left pocket and I look towards the right, wearing my headset, of course, I look towards the right, the headphones start disconnecting for some reason. I don't know why, but it just does. It starts disconnecting. It's really odd. It only happens in that situation. If I have my phone in my left pocket and I look towards the right, it disconnects. Otherwise, if I'm using my phone, if I'm using my headphones just fine, and my phone is in my left pocket, and I'm walking around just fine, it doesn't disconnect. It only disconnects in that particular situation, which is going to drive me nuts. Also, some of the other pros, some of the other cons about this headphone is, for example, if the battery is low and you only have about 1 hour of battery life left in the headphone, there's this female voice, this female prompter that's going to prompt you that the battery is low every 1 or 2 minutes. She's going to cut off the voice. She's going to cut off whatever you're hearing to, whatever you're listening to, whether it's the TV shows or movies or anything, it's going to cut it off, and she's going to announce, like the battery is low. Every 1 or 2 minutes, battery low for 1 hour. Every 1 or 2 minutes, she's going to make this announcement, which can get extremely irritating and extremely aggravating. It's pretty annoying, yeah. I think it's one of the main negatives. But I think overall, again, the connectivity is great. The sound is great. And as for the comfortability, I think the comfortability is somewhere in the middle. It's not the most comfortable headphone I've ever used. It's not the most uncomfortable headphones I've ever used. And if you have it in this, sweet spot, it's just these things are on-ear headphones, which, again, I don't really prefer. I think, yeah, these things, if you have them in the sweet spot, the perfect spot, I think, yeah, they can be pretty darn comfortable. You could use them, you could put them on for like 5-6 hours at a time without feeling any discomfort. But if you have them in a little bit of just like pretty much a couple of inches from that sweet spot, you're going to start feeling a lot of pain after just a couple of hours or, 3 hours. They're not going to be the most comfortable headphones. But I gotta say they're not the most comfortable headphones, and they're not the most uncomfortable headphones. It's somewhere in the middle. But yeah, overall, I think these things do a great job. The microphone works great. It sounds great. The sound itself is fantastic. It leans towards the bass, which I got to be honest, I'm a bit of a bass head, so I enjoy bass. For me, the battery life is fantastic. I've had these things for about a month. I've only charged them twice, and that's while using them as a daily driver. I've used these things as a daily driver with an average of about 3 hours a day. And yeah, considering these things can last about a whole month, and I would actually have to charge them twice, I think it's quite a refreshing change from a lot of crappy batteries that we see those days. I think the design is also pretty good. The construction itself doesn't really feel extra cheap. These things could actually, I think they could last a little bit. I mean, I think overall, Bluedio provided a fantastic value for these headphones. At $30, you get those many features. You get incredible sound. You get comfortable headphones, relatively comfortable headphones, and you get SD card functionality and FM radio. I think you really couldn't ask for more for $30. Again, remember that the price point for these headphones is $30. It's incredible. Now, if you want to get the most out of these headphones and you want to get the best sound quality out of these headphones, there's an application that you can download on both Android and Apple devices or iOS devices, and you could pretty much adjust a lot of the settings in this on this application. Unfortunately, you can't remove this voice prompt. That keeps annoying me. I tried, believe me, I tried, even though the application is pretty basic, but you can't really, pretty much turn off this really extremely annoying audio prompt. However, you can use the equalizer. There's an equalizer on this headphone, and it really does have a really incredible change when it comes to the audio in this device. If you use, for example, the treble or extra bass, or dance. For me, set it on the dance mode because it pretty much increases everything. It boosts everything. It boosts the treble. It boosts the mids, and it also boosts the bass and the volume. It just makes everything sounds better. For me, dance was the perfect mode to set it to. So overall, yeah. I think, yeah, also I need to say something about the equalizer or the application itself. The application does have a little bit of a notification that shows up on the top in the notification bar or in the notification shade. For some reason, I don't know why, but it gets stuck at 70%. It just gets stuck at 70%. It always remains at 70%. Sure, at first it shows the actual percentage of the headphone, whether it's 100% or 90% or 80%. But for some reason, it just gets stuck at 70%, and I don't know why. I tried to fix the problem, remove the widget, force stop it, whatever, but it just gets stuck at 70%, which really beats the purpose of this widget because it's really nice to kind of like know how much battery life you got in these headphones. So yeah, the application does have some problems, and it's also relatively hard to download the application. You have to download it from their official website. You can't download it from the Google Play Store or the App Store. So yeah, but overall, I think these things are absolutely an amazing bang for the buck. They are an absolute steal at $30. If you can find these things at $30, then do pick them up because they sound amazing. Now, if you want to look at other alternatives for these headphones, There is the August EP650, which sounds also amazing. It's also got a little bit of a bass emphasis. It doesn't have the SD card functionality or the FM radio, but it's also pretty close in terms of the sound experience. It might even sound better than the Bluedio headphone. There's also the Fotiv BTH3 at $50 as well. It sounds great. It's a lot more balanced than both the August EP650 and the Bluedio T2 Plus Turbine. So yeah, these are pretty good options in case if you didn't really like the Bluedio T2 Plus. And that was it for the review. I hope you guys enjoyed it. See you on the next one.